Hi, and welcome to The Building People, the show where we spotlight the career journeys and hard-won lessons of the people who keep Britain's buildings running. I'm Paul McCorkadale, I'm CEO at GridEdge, and today I'm delighted to have Freddie Pritchard-Smith, co-founder and CEO of Trustek, the property tech consultant that has audited 5 million square feet of commercial offices and built the industry's first independent verified marketplace for PropTech solutions. Freddie spent 10 years working with some of central London's most prestigious landlords before doing something most surveyors wouldn't dare doing. Walked away in 2018 to build Savvy, a tenant engagement app deployed in 15 buildings across the UK, used by thousands. Most founders would have called that the win, but Freddie carried on, took the lessons and co-founded Trustek to solve the real problem he'd discovered. Now over 15,000 PropTech solutions in the market, and real estate doesn't know which ones actually work. His team has since become the people landlords and operators call when they are tired of PropTech companies selling solutions and looking for problems. Because Trustek starts with a problem and introduces the right solution. From basement BMS systems with no windows to boardroom conversations, he spent his career proving that the gap between property and technology isn't just technical, but it's a very human challenge. Freddie, welcome to the show.
Well, that is by far and away the best introduction I've ever heard of myself, and actually sound quite impressive, which is amazing. I'm definitely going to steal that. But yeah, no, great to be on this, and look forward to the conversation with you.
Excellent. I'm really looking forward to it and delighted to have you, Freddie. And I suppose that, just that from that intro, I mean, starting from where you were, I mean, you spent a decade surveying, working with kind of, I suppose, big blue chip landlords in central London, and then pivoted into that engagement app that got deployed. But most people would have kind of went, that's it. And then you went and did Trustek. So walk us through, how did you get there? What was that decision? And I suppose, what did you learn from that experience that made you say there's a much bigger problem here to solve?
Yeah, it's a big question. I can't say at the time in my late 20s I had all the answers. I think, as a lot of people, I was probably quite confident in my own ability to do something, which I now joke to say I was the least qualified tech CEO you've ever met in your entire life as a child surveyor. But I think I had done the same job for almost a decade, and it was a lot of fun and was on the tail end of a growth market in central London offices. So it was a good place to be. But I sort of looked across the table at a person that was sort of 30, 40 years my senior, and kind of saw the ghost of Christmas future. And when the opportunity came up to be the CEO of a technology company, I sort of very much felt back in 2018 that that's where the market was going, and that was the future of real estate, was innovation. What transpired is we're probably a little bit early in the market. We can debate whether we're still early in it or the maturity is coming one day. And really, why did I go again? My dream job would have been to be the head of innovation for one of those large landlords that I was advising on their disposal strategy, and that job didn't exist. And so I kind of did the next best thing, which was to create a company that allowed me to apply the new knowledge I had around property and technology and actually give advice to anyone that would talk to us around the understanding if they had a problem. But really, with the freedom of not selling them one product, I think that's what I learned was really hard. When you have a particular product with a particular set of tools or features, you're going into conversations trying to find how you can round peg that square hole. Whereas as a consultant, we can kind of listen and help advise. So it makes our life a lot easier, that I'm not trying to go, yeah, no, we can't do that today, but maybe in a few months we can. So yeah, it's been, I don't know, a very different journey from selling a product and building a business to advising clients and using the knowledge and passion I have for what is still quite a niche topic of PropTech.
I mean, I suppose through that, you work with, I mean, some of them are really big organizations that, they often move at a different pace, as you probably know better. But I mean, how did that then shape the way you approach that? And, you get landlords that most tech founders kind of completely miss and don't engage with. But how did you go about doing that?
I was really fortunate in both the time as a real estate advisor and as a software salesman. I kind of done the right thing by a lot of those people. And that could be as simple as turning down work when they asked you, could you do something? And you go, actually, it's not me. It's probably this company you should talk to, not mine. And that kind of integrity is quite important to me, and is one of the reasons why it's the foundations of what we do today. How we get in front of those people, I think, is really about asking the right questions. And, we're not going in with an agenda saying, you're falling behind, you need to innovate, you need to buy these things. It's kind of can be a really open conversation about what's your biggest challenges today. And there's consistencies in big businesses, and there's also inconsistencies. Like no one's at the same point. Everyone's got different maturities, different knowledges, and some people have got in-house teams, but a lot of teams we certainly seen over the last 4 years have disbanded their innovation group in lieu of the sustainability group. Perhaps the sort of the internal knowledge gap has kind of been our opportunity to kind of go, you used to have these skill sets, you want to go out and do it, but you might not have it internally. And can we be the trusted advisor to support you on that journey? If that answers your question.
Yeah, I think that's, and I suppose that you must see a lot of this, but there must be certain myths or certain things that get in the way that just paralyze decision making, especially when it comes to technology. I mean, there's so many things out there that people get stuck with, but what's that one thing that you see just over and over again that just kind of gets in the way of progress?
Yeah, I would say the assumption that someone else is doing something, whereas in fact they're actually not, would be probably the biggest limitation to it. We joke about going, whose responsibility is it to find, implement, and deploy and manage technology in real estate? And in every room you go into, they'll have a different answer. And that is kind of the problem. It's a lack of clarity around the stakeholder that should be flying this flag and driving it forward. And really, the reality is that real estate's complex. It's multi-layered, multidisciplinary, contractors, subcontractors, in-house, out of house. Every building and every organization is different. So you kind of, what one business deems to be, you're the person that's doing the innovation. In another company, it's like, oh no, that's the outsourced people. They should be doing it for us. So that's what I think is probably the most consistent frustration, is that someone assumes someone's doing something, but actually more often than not, they're probably not.
I'm smiling as you say that because, yeah, it's so often that we also speak to people and that they have this perception that everybody else has found a solution and everybody else is running away and has all the answers. And as you said, they're often people in a very similar space, maybe with a slightly different shape to their challenge, but everybody's probably at some stage in that journey getting a little bit stuck. On that part, you've got an example of kind of where, I suppose, that realization that tech wasn't necessarily the problem, but where would that come in part of your journey of where you kind of realize that, there's enough technical solutions out there. The challenge isn't quite the technical solution. It's something else.
Without naming names, don't want to talk about negative things. I think what we've observed is probably more, there's a lot of fatigue in the industry because there are so many vendors out there that are doing similar things. The rise of these sales tactics and aggressive sales tactics, targeting different individuals in an organization and finding a way into them to then sit and meet with them without ever really having a need to do it. I think that's been one of the reasons where I think the door used to be very open and people were excited about new innovation. And I feel more in the UK that door's a bit more closed and people are less, no, not another one. So I think there's a bit of innovation fatigue or PropTech fatigue. I think one thing that we've identified and is quite a consistent theme is that in any one building, the operator may have anything from 5 to 15 different data platforms or data sources that they rely upon to run a building or do their job. And not many of those things talk to each other. And then it falls upon that individual to log in and out of every single one of those things, or maybe not every one, but to produce a report, to give advice, to be proactive in their day job, they actually are almost slowed down by the breadth of innovation that buildings evolve over time. And just because a solution's great, if it's adding layers of complexity, it kind of slows people down, not speed them up. So I think there's sometimes a challenge of actually rationalizing and going, well, what do I need? What do I really need? And what should I really be automating? I think that's something that we see quite a lot. And therefore, another technology isn't going to solve the problem. It just make it worse. So that's sort of, I don't know, a big bugbear of ours that we see often.
Yeah, you see a bit what you were saying about data, and that multiple sources of different sets of data. And you probably see it as well, where lots of people say, we just need more data. And you're kind of like, well, what are you trying to solve? I mean, you must see that all the time where it's like more data, more data, more data. But so what?
Yeah, no, the sale questions, I think people want insights, they don't want data. We often ask difficult questions when someone says, we want more data. And my response is always the same, which is, if I give you the perfect data set for what you've asked, what are you going to do with it? And if you haven't figured out what that is, you probably don't need that data set just yet. So
Yeah.
we like to stop people in the tracks and really make them think about it before they go on the journey of going, really need to know occupancy data. Okay, to what degree of accuracy? what's the plan when you get the data? Well, we're going to do, so, well, let's figure that bit out first. And then when you're really clear about it, you can build a business case, understand what options are out there. And then you can actually feel that you have a constructive thing as opposed to buying the data and then figuring out later, which is definitely the wrong way around.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And I suppose that leads into the kind of, you originally were building PropTech yourself, and, you've moved from doing that to being this independent consultant who sits as an unbiased view of trying to understand it. But as part of that, your Trustek, your verified marketplace now, produces those detailed reports of other prop tech companies that are out there, including those case studies and the actual users. I mean, how have you found that, and from your role evolving from being the person building the solution and trying to give the answer to, I'm now the person who looks to find you the best solution and help you be that unbiased partner?
That's an annoyingly good question, Paul. I would say that we did, like a lot of businesses did when they first set up, we said yes to every client request that came in. And that took the product we had on a journey to every day I'd go back to my product manager and go, right, we need to build this, and right, we need to build that, and we need to build this. And, it was a very inefficient, unstructured way of doing it, which is trying to appease everyone, as opposed to being very clear about what we did and what we didn't do. We tried to build everything, and God, we went in all different angles and different, we tried to look at air quality data, occupancy data, and, have a native mobile application. So when COVID came around, my company could tell you how many people were in your building, what the indoor air quality was like. And if something came up, we could send a push notification to everyone there. So in theory, you should be interviewing me as an incredibly successful PropTech entrepreneur.
Very neat.
The reality was that didn't happen. I think we pitched more times in 2 weeks than we had in 4 years, and everyone said it's okay, it will just go away. It was the wrong time for us, and the investors were like, well, if we can't sell it now, I'm not quite sure what the future looks like, which I couldn't disagree with them at the time. I think in that learning of, we had a data point that we believed was relevant to real estate, and we believed that knowing how many people are in a building would give you insights into their growth, insights into whether they're being utilizing the space. Could you upsell them? Could you do this? It was very, very grounded and logical. It made sense that we should give this data to someone to then go and inform the action. And then I had to set about figuring out how on earth we were going to get that information, right? How accurate it was. So we had to trial and test lots of different solutions and physically go and install them on site, cable it in, channel it in, 3 of them together, looking at all the data coming in. And you realize really quickly, the same with air quality, there was a huge discrepancy in price, accuracy, and just kind of ease of deployment. Really, the difference in how that shaped what I do today is, I was on my hands and knees in the FM's basement trying to connect my app to the access control the day of the launch to 1,000 people. So you can't get more practical hands-on from that perspective.
Yeah.
And that's really where, from my side, is kind of actually understanding what it takes to deliver a technology solution, to go into a room full of occupiers or an FM who had no idea about the procurement journey that I've gone on a sales process, and then rock up to his office going, right, I've gone to stick these sensors throughout your whole building. Is that okay? And I'm going, who on earth are you and what are you doing here? Right. So I think from running a SaaS business and hardware as well, you realize the challenges, limitation. GDPR came out when we were doing it, and the complexities of relationships and what was going on, and having to listen to direct feedback from occupiers that said, an app won't fix the leak in the corner of my office. It's like, no, it won't. So it was, it was a very direct experience of the realities of when an idea in a sales deck is actually meets the reality of a building, and understanding how you need to take a lot of stakeholders on a journey to make it successful makes you kind of think about, we should do this, and go, right, we should do this, but who else needs to be in the room to make this a success? And that sort of, I suppose, is what's helped my lens on asking questions about verified vendors, because we do procurement and we ask everyone the same question. So why not structure it and standardize it to make our lives easier, or anyone's life easier, to review a piece of information that we would sell to someone as far as consultancy goes? It's a long answer.
Yeah, no, I like it though. It's in the reality of it, isn't it? That's often the bit that gets the people jump over, or it's just a piece of tech. You plug it in, everything just magically works, and you get an answer. And we all,
If only it was that simple, it'd be great.
it would make everything a lot easier, wouldn't it?
For Jerry.
And that, when you look at, you mentioned it a little bit, but the number of there's thousands of solutions out there now in prop tech, each with their own, we solve every problem or we solve this problem or whatever. I mean, how do you stay true to that sort of, that I'm going to call it a North Star, but for your customers, what is it that gets you? Is there a common North Star? How do you get to go, right, what is it I've got to pick out and select based on to help guide my customer? And how do you get to that metric or that thing that's going to make the biggest difference? What is it? Is it a common? I don't know, but I'm just curious if you see a common one or it's very different.
One of the reasons why we're going down the route of wanting to audit every building in the UK and one day the world, which makes me sound like Dr. Evil, but understanding what you currently have today is the foundational point in where you need to go on your journey. And there isn't one North Star for everybody, like there just isn't. But when it comes to a buying decision or an innovation decision, we've found that often the first question is, well, what have you got today? Is something that is not that well known or documented. Even with the amazing platforms that can help you document it, it's still
Yeah.
not there. So I don't think there is a common North Star. I think there are still a lot of low hanging fruit, for want of a better phrase, at looking at manual processes that could be automated with relatively low barriers to entry from a cost perspective. And I think utility metering and reporting is probably one of those things that comes up quite common. The owner of a building can change, the operator of a building can change, the occupier of a building can change. So what's the North Star for one owner of an asset might not be the same for the next. But understanding what a building is capable of doing and what it's not is really where we believe is that an understanding is the first part to your innovation journey. Because we go to buildings we've audited this year that have got absolutely every single bell and whistle. And where's your North Star? It's like, well, actually, you guys don't need any more. You've got everything and it's going really well. I think often there's a real focus on the bad and the problem to solve, but there are some really great buildings out there that have gone, fully into innovation and doing great stuff. And we need to kind of hopefully showcase those as much as the ones that get lambasted for being archaic and bad. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you mentioned there as well, like, some of this is often looking for these massive pieces of work or big jumps that people need to make. And you just said there, there's some of those smaller things are going to make the biggest difference right now. And you must see that quite a lot where, organizations near enough, when they go down this journey, they're near enough looking for that huge project or that big, massive thing. And it might be the right thing, but often it isn't the big things that make the difference. Is that right? Is that what you see?
Yeah, I think time is the most valuable commodity that anyone can have. And I think there is definitely the pursuit of the silver bullet has been something that I think has probably held people back, because if you go to a large public body or big institution and go, we can save you 3-5% on your energy bill. Okay, well, that's really helpful, but I need to deliver hundreds of millions of savings. So I do think there's a reluctance to take these small wins that actually grease the wheel for more innovation, more free time for those individuals to do better work. But ultimately, when you're talking about a person who's got innovation is not their day job and procurement for technology is not their day job, you're trying to find an angle into that person's time to give a doodah about it. And therefore, if it's like, well, I can only save you this much, it's like, well, it's actually probably not worth my time to join that call. And that's where it comes down to the accountability piece of like, well, in my supply chain, who are the people that is worth their time? Because in what they're doing and their cost to the business or the asset, that's 3% a massive change, right? So I think it's definitely held people back. I think the realities are, and I joke about it, when I find the silver bullet, I can assure you I will be putting all my, everything I've got into that silver bullet and charging off into the sunset and recommending to everyone. I think because the nature of the fragmented point solutions that exist in the market today, those things are really almost impossible to find. And clearly AI is hopefully going to be the thing that's going to make all that really easy and cost effective. So we don't have to worry now, just wait for AI to do it, which is great.
It'll magically happen tomorrow for us. Yeah, solved. Yeah, yeah. I suppose on that technical bit, I seen you recently posted about FM teams, stuck in windowless basements with no ventilation and poor phone signal, and yet we expect them to kind of lead that ESG strategy charge alongside all the operational bit. I mean, what is the one operational blind spot in real estate I suppose that were the people responsible for building technology that you wish the industry would fix that blind spot to allow things to move forward? Is there one? Is there one?
What's the one blind spot which the industry would fix?
Yeah, yeah. Just the one, Freddie,
It's the one. Yeah, yeah. How long have you got? Look, I think giving people the carrot or the stick around innovation is probably the one that I think needs to be embedded into the culture of the industry, which is you're rewarded for finding innovation or you're penalized for not finding innovation, depending on how you run your own operational strategy. To give people the time to prioritize it as part of their daily life. As a chartered surveyor, you have continued professional development and innovation's part of it. But to date, there's not an innovation only RSCS event, which we're trying to work on. And so for me, I think the way to the blind spot is that the people that are doing this great work in our buildings don't get given the freedom to go out and find and trial and test these things. They're too busy doing the do to actually look up and see this amazing, obvious opportunity for them to go. So I think that would be the one thing I'd like to change.
I like that. I like that. One of the things I was just going to say, we've been engaged and chatting for a little while now, Freddie, and the one thing that really stands out whenever we have the conversations is that complete kind of I suppose honest, transparent view of the market. And you work with lots of different partners and different people that are providing technology solutions. And what I find really so refreshing is that honesty. And even from our point of view, when we chat about what we do in the grid edge space, that you're very honest about what it gives and what it doesn't give is equally as important to solve some of these challenges. But that must be quite hard in an industry that often professes that it has always got the answer. I don't know if is that the right summary of trying to be that kind of honest third party that looking at it and going, there's always good and bad of everything. And
Yeah. Yeah, look, it's something I'm really passionate about, and I think is from the days when I ran my own software business. And the old adage of you learn more from the losses than the wins. And actually having someone that in doing an RFP, I know how much effort goes into one, to win a project, win a portfolio, late nights, early mornings, scrapping around being like, is it right? Is it wrong? What's the pricing? And you put a lot of emotional energy into those things. And to be then given a feedback of, you've lost it, full stop. It used to annoy me as a vendor, right? So I kind of pride myself on giving people the feedback that I always wanted to receive. And sometimes it's hard to hear because you don't necessarily want to hear me tell you that actually the reason why is that your product has limitations in here that another product excels at. And I always find in the conversations with companies where they are open and transparent, and so are we, it actually helps you refine your go to market because you realize that when someone asks us a question about, I've got this problem in this building and we've audited it, we know what that building's capable of. Well, actually, I know a really great fit for that is this company, as opposed to proclaiming to do everything to all people, which is just not the case. There's enough buildings out there and enough problems out there for every company to have a hugely successful business. But that's sort of the part to me is helping someone sharpen the axe to know that if you go up against company X, you're probably going to lose out for these reasons. And therefore, this is probably not right for you, which sometimes you don't want to hear. It's like, no, we can give us a chance. It's like, well, we can do. But like when I'm writing the response back to the client, I'm going to mark you down here. Just feel that business deserves to have that feedback on it. And sometimes that helps you shape your roadmap. Sometimes it helps you double down your marketing narrative. Sometimes you think I'm an absolute something else. And that's totally fine. And it's sort of part of the job of being the man in the middle.
yeah, but I think it's such valuable, and I think if there was a lot more of it in the industry, I think it would help us all move forward. There's so much to be done in this space, and I think that steering not just of you got your customers who you're making sure you get the right solutions for, but equally steering the rest of the industry around where they focus. Because if everybody focuses on their own bit and everybody does that and keeps improving, then things will get better. But often, we see it as well in our space. It's so easy to get attracted by something you think is really exciting, but you might not be the right solution for it. And if you're not the right solution for it, you probably shouldn't be in it in the first place, and go and do something different for now and do the bit that you can add the most value to. I suppose, well, I was curious, Freddie, when you get very passionate and you're really driven by what you believe doing the right thing leads to success. I'm curious, if you fast forward 5 years, what do you want to be known for? What's the impact that you've had on the industry that you would like to have made a difference with?
Yeah, that would have been a whole question for me to answer probably 6, 9 months ago. And And now it's a bit easier for me to do. We want to take the every building audit that we've got, the every building survey, I should say, and want to audit as many buildings as humanly possible, because the internal operational technology stack of buildings, which is a mouthful to get out at a dinner party, is something that's currently not part of the asset value or due diligence. So whether you're an occupier moving into a building, or whether you're an investment agent selling a building or doing an underwrite, this very strange gray area windowless basement space that actually holds the keys to operational net operating income value. It's sort of like, yeah, no, we've got it, it's fine. So in 5 years time, I'd like to be able to have, the every building survey or every building audit a benchmark for comparison on a like for like basis, not a bronze, silver, gold. So to help people be informed about what each technology is in a building, and for it to be, I don't know, a common conversation to have, to ask someone about, do you have an energy management system in the building I'm going into? Can you show me the data? As opposed to achieving accreditation 7 years ago when it was built. So that's I suppose, my North Star is to have the world's biggest database on an asset technology, but also to make asset technology relevant to the value of buildings. That would be my answer.
And I think I like that. For me, it's when you talk about that, I get quite excited about where your vision is, because that to me enables collaboration. That enables people to have the information to make decisions, but it enables everybody round the challenge to be able to decide where the right place is to add the value on each of the solutions. And right now, as you know, because you're the person in the middle trying to assess these buildings, it's the first steps are hardest of, well, where are we at, and what is the thing that you could do that would add the most value? Not just doing something because it seems a good idea that you're the only one that's come to the table. So I think that 5 year piece, I think that's like really exciting. And you've been on a journey from, your own technology solution and building that out. And you've had co-founders along the way, and you've had partners and people you work with. And I'm curious, who stands out? Who's the sort of mentor for you? Who do you take inspiration from, or who do you turn to for advice? Because especially leading companies, it can be a very lonely journey. But where do you get that advice from?
I'm unfortunately one of those people that's very bad at asking for advice. It's something that my now business partner is encouraging me a lot to do. Is like, it's okay not to be the hero CEO, which is an insult, not a compliment. Which is where you try to solve every problem and be the hero. It's like you're actually just the downfall holding us all back. I think I've been really fortunate to have some great non-execs along the way. Guy called Peter Kitchen over in the States, who was chairing our board meetings when it was, just us and an idea, not even a website. And having a continuity with someone that you keep in tabs with that's got a completely different lens, based in North America, helped grow SaaS businesses over there and is strategically aligned to that, has been really helpful. And then Katie Whip, Chris Early, people that want to lend a hand, want to support along the way. Those people, I think non-execs can add value in different ways, but having people around you that kind of pick you up when you're beating yourself up and can point you in the direction of going, these are other things going on, has been really helpful to me. And I'm unfortunately in a position where my father-in-law ran a technology consultancy business many years ago that was a global company that employed 4,000 people.
Wow.
So if I ever get stuck or think I'm doing well, I always go and have a coffee with him, and he puts me right. So he'd probably be the person that I would say that, if you set the bar high, that's as high as I want to get to. Whereas I'm not sure about the people bit of it.
That's fantastic. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I suppose that bit of that advice from there leads us on to, I suppose, what, there's lots of people, and you'll have seen it as well, especially in the real estate environment. They've either been in it and they've taken over a new role in a large real estate, or they've potentially had another role and now they've got 4 different badges being attached to their role, whether that's, sustainability or whatever's getting added on. What would you pick out of maybe the one skill set or mindset that would really help them on that journey? What would you say? What's your bit of advice for them?
I think it's a good question. Another good question. I feel like underprepared for it. But I would say we did a workshop years ago when we first set up, and it's something that kind of stuck with me as I presented it. So it's kind of not my idea, but was my idea, is that real estate is very good at building things and transacting things, which has a start, middle, and an end. And we'll bury that mindset of knowing there's a process, it's going to be done, and it's finished, right? And whether it's finished with the construction or finished, it's fully let. And in technology, you have the concept of agile methodology, which you guys may or may not use. So real estate is very waterfall. Like, we spend 4 years design, development, planning down to the nuts and bolts, and then we build it, and it's done, it's let, and it's over. You sort of trying explaining that when I was trying to explain that to a room of developers, they're like, that makes absolutely no sense to me. Because what about iterations? What about updates? What about changes? Like, no, no, no. Every time we change, it's going to delay and have huge cost implications and risk. It's like, where's the flexibility? It's like, well, it's just not how our mindset works. So I think I'd say from the industry perspective is thinking about things in a more agile way, which again is quite a cheesy statement, but having an understanding that things will need to change, that things can fail, that you might do something that goes wrong, but you might do something that goes really well, and feeling less sort of bound by the start, middle, end of going actually along this journey. What was this is in a digital perspective, not a physical, clearly, because you can't keep changing a building, but from a digital mindset around something of going, not being so, this is the only thing way of doing this, actually it will change. I mean, even the last 4 years, it has changed about relevance of sustainability accreditations and all those different data points, and now AI, and it is going to be a constantly evolving thing. So I think a mindset around an awareness of what agile methodology means is that you don't always end up where you thought you'd start, I think would help a lot of people when it comes to thinking about their roles and how innovation can intersect in it, because it's not linear and it's not always defined at the start.
I have to say, Freddie, that's probably the first time I've heard somebody in this space talk about using the agile methodology in that way. It's really interesting because the world is moving at quite a pace, especially in the real estate space, the PropTech space, the energy space. I mean, it's moving at a rate that, tomorrow seems like another challenge and a different thing that has to be brought. And I think it's really interesting that the main thing is be flexible and take a slice and do a bit, do another bit, keep moving. And I think, I'm up in Manchester today meeting a few partners and customers, and we're chatting to people in this space. And if somebody was coming to you today and said, look, I've got these set of buildings and I want to make them smart. And you always hear this word smart and it's got 101 connotations, but they say, well, I want to make the building smart. Where do they start and why?
We used to say there is no definition of a smart building, and there still isn't one today. A smart building to me and to Trustek, I think, or I hope anyway, is when a smart building should be when no one's there, you turn it off. That's it. Myriad of other things that you could do: digital mobile access control, engagement, air quality, sensors, but in the fundamentals of it, the way in which we commission buildings are to turn on, run 100%. I mean, you know this better than I do, clearly. The concept of turning a building on 100%, running it 100%, and turning it off, to me, is just bewilderingly daft, pre-pandemic or post-pandemic. A smart building should be one that adapts to how it's being used. And that's still more. If you start there as your baseline, everything else around it hopefully will be a bonus.
I'm going to use that, if that's okay. I'd say, I like that. That's such a simple way of explaining that. And it gets often overcomplicated, doesn't it? And you hear all these 101 different things that makes it smart.
And how you achieve that is complicated. It could be occupancy, it could be Wi-Fi data, it could be badge data, it could be IoT, Internet of Things data, to get to the same outcome of no one's in this room, turn the lights off, turn the HVAC down, save energy, save the planet, and automate it as best you can. Like, that is what I believe a smart building should be as a base case. And then, as I say, everything else of it would be a bonus.
Is that why often that you start really going, right, well, let's see where we are. Let's do the audit, but you're going, let's look at where you are. Start there.
Because to deliver that, you need to have lots of other component parts within your lighting, within your heating and ventilation, within lots of things that allow you to deliver that as an outcome. But if you start with a clear objective of that's what we're trying to achieve, then you sort of work backwards. Okay, well, what's the pieces of the puzzle we need to put together to make that deliverable?
And the verified marketplace, it centralizes that independent validation for PropTech companies. For those listening today who are either in real estate professionals or they're trying to navigate the 15,000 plus solutions that must be out there now on PropTech companies, trying to solve that, not just a solution looking for a problem, but how do they engage with what you've built at Trustek? How do they engage on this journey with you guys on getting that advice and support?
I think the marketplace is something we've run for the last couple of years. And by going onto the marketplace, you can request a copy of a report that's been written by us, which has business information, cost information, which is often one of the hardest things to find in PropTech. How much does it cost to deploy this in a 100,000 square foot building? it's every 100,000 square foot building is going to be different, but just want a ballpark idea, right? It's a very basic notional concept. And are my costs recoverable through a service charge? And on every report, we have written a SWOT analysis on that company, which is often the prickliest part of any verification process with somebody. But it's giving it was a joke for us, is like, it's our free advice, which is on our website to be used. The realities are that having having the time to know what to look for and to find our website and to find the report and get there is a challenge. And that's really why we see the verified marketplace now supporting our auditing platform, where, as you said earlier, which is solutions looking for problems. We want to audit buildings, identify the gaps, identify the problems, and connect people with solutions that way, as opposed to assuming that somebody knows what an EMS is or what IAQ is or what mobile access control is. So we want to help people understand what they've got, and then using the verified marketplace to connect them with vendors that can solve that specific problem.
I think that's you. Your piece there is that trusted piece, and I know, having engaged with you on numerous occasions of different areas, is that independent, that you really do want to sit there in the customer's shoes. And I hear it so often from you, of going, the words that I hear ringing in my ears is the so what. Okay, it's great tech, whatever, but what answer does it give us? Freddie, thank you. You've shown us today that the future of PropTech isn't about having the most advanced technology. It's about understanding the problem first and implementing the right solution for the people who actually have to use it. From tenant engagement apps, building digital building consultancies. Your journey proves that the best technology advisors aren't the ones who've only built building tech, but are also working in the real estate. They're the ones who've done both, and they're learning the hard lessons between those. To our listeners, though, if you're drowning in 15,000 PropTech plus solutions and don't know which ones to work, I'd recommend Freddie and Trustek are the people who've already done the hard homework, and reaching out, even if they haven't done your specific challenge, they'll work with you on that journey. Freddie, it's been fantastic. Thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully catch up soon.
And thanks, Paul. Thanks
Thanks,
for some
Freddie.
annoying questions.
Thanks a lot. See you soon.